Hello everyone, in this video I shall tell you about the theoretical framework for thesis as requested by my audience. But before I start, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. So theoretical framework of thesis is also known as database and research methodology. So in this chapter basically what we do is we cover. So this chapter deals with the database and research methodology, which is in commensurate with the objectives of the study, and it focuses on the sources of data collection, sample design, different statistical tools employed by the researcher for analysis and interpretation of the data in order to achieve the objectives of the study. So this is why we go in for the theoretical framework chapter for the thesis. So the first part in this is the objectives of the study. So the objective of the study, when you begin with, suppose this is chapter 3.3 and the point first is the objective. So the first thing you'll be covering is the objective. So the overall objective of the study is the overall theme of the thesis, and then the specific objectives you would mention, numbering them. The second thing is the sources of data collection. The sources of data collection, the relevant data for the present study is from primary sources or say secondary sources. So in this you would mention, the second thing you would mention, the theoretical framework is the data source, the sources of data collection. So primary study, in case of primary study you can say that I've used a well structured questionnaire, and the questionnaire was framed after meeting interaction with the academicians and the practitioners and based upon review of literature, and there were certain unstructured statements which I framed on myself, and suppose my topic was women investors or any other topic you can say. So in that case so I from some audience from which I took my data. So in this case, before collecting the data, I tested the preliminary drafts and deleted the vague statements based upon the suggestions of the academicians, practitioners and the respondents who were actually going to fill the questionnaire. So a preliminary study was done. So the final draft of the questionnaire has been divided into 5 sections. What are those 5 sections? The number of sections will depend upon the number of objectives you have. So the first section would deal with the first objective, the second section would deal with the second objective, and the third is dealing with the third objective, and so on. And always suppose I have 4 objectives, so in this case I'll frame 5 sections. The fifth would be the demographic profile. The third is 3.3, universe of the study. So universe of the study, that is the total area from which the sample was taken. So that is 3.3, universe of the study. So it comprised of what? Universe comprised of the entire, say if it is women investors, so it is the entire women investors of it, is say the people using e-tourism or people using e-channels for say payment, so they'll be my universe. So that is simple. Then sample selection. I would simply write, for selecting the sample, I would mention in sample selection the sampling technique, say purposive sampling, convenient sampling. Otherwise convenient sampling is not recommended, so you won't have to write that. But say purposive sampling or judgmental sampling, because if I have to say get the questions filled from people using online payments, so I would capture those audience only, so that is judgmental sampling. Or say bank customers, so I would go to a bank, so that is what sampling technique it is based upon, my judgment, or was it random or something else. So, and how many number of respondents I covered, say I covered 500 respondents. How were they chosen? I made a list of banks, and say I made a list of banks in India, in a specific city of India, say Delhi in India, and covering North Delhi, South Delhi, East Delhi, West Delhi, and then I covered 25 banks and 5 customers each. So this is how you tell about how the samples was chosen and how the sample was representative. What all lists were prepared, as I said, if I'm doing a study of banks, so I would write a list of banks in Delhi was prepared, and then I chose 25 banks from each zone. So there were 100 banks and 500 was the sample size, so five customers each from each bank. What all databases, in case of secondary data, what all databases you referred, say I get the banking data from RBI's website, so I refer to the RBI website, and which website, which year, the data I referred to, that will be that I'll mention that also in the sample selection. And the time during which the data was collected, say it was collected from January 2022 to say June 2023, so that is the time during which the data was collected, so that will come in sample selection. Then analytical tools used, you'll give the theoretical explanation, say I've used factor analysis, so I'll give the entire theory about factor analysis, and where I've used it I'll mention in one line that for achieving my third objective or my second objective I've used factor analysis. Then sample characteristics. Sample characteristics, you always write a line that I've covered all different backgrounds in terms of sample characteristics, in terms of age, education, marital status, gender, occupation, monthly income, etc. And I've covered all kinds of say respondents in my demographic profile, so I've tried to cover all. And I would give a table with the statistics, with the numbers, as well as with the percentages of the respondents covered belonging to each demographic profile. This I've discussed in my various videos, how to jot down the demographic profile in tabular form and then write a note compiled from survey. The last point of the theoretical framework would be for thesis would be the limitations of the study. That is also discussed in my videos about what is left undone. Maybe I've covered Delhi, so I can cover Mumbai now. I've covered India, I can cover another country now. Or say I've covered a specific category of respondents, say I've covered bank customers, now I can carry out a study on say insurance, the customers adhering to the insurance, or catering to the maybe the insurance companies, coming to the insurance companies and learning about their perception. And say I've not carried out a study on a gender basis, I can carry out a study finding out the perception of the female bank customers and the male bank customers. I can also write down that the limitation of the study is that only 500 respondents have been covered. I can cover, let's say, 1,000 or 1,500 respondents in my future study. So this is how you give your theoretical framework. I've covered a video on the limitations of the study also, but this is the theoretical framework, and thanks to my audience who've made suggestions, who've given me suggestions to make a video on the theoretical framework for thesis, and I hope it will be useful to all of you. In my next video I shall be covering how to write the conclusion chapter in two formats of your thesis, how to write down the conclusions, how to sum up the conclusions of your study, what framework to follow in that case, and that will be discussed in two formats. And thanks for watching, hope it was useful. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching.